Imagine visiting a zoo. Families walk through the gates, children laugh, vendors sell food, crowds gather around the exhibits. But instead of lions, elephants, or bears, the attraction is a human being. A man from the Congo, a family from Greenland, a village from the Philippines. People stare, point, take photographs. Some laugh, some mock, some simply watch. For decades, this was considered normal. Not by fringe groups, not by extremists, but by millions of ordinary people across Europe and North America. Welcome to the strange route. Behind every disturbing chapter of human history lies a deeper story about power, identity, and the stories people tell themselves about who belongs and who does not. Today, we uncover the strange root of the human zoo era. Between the late 19th century and the mid-20th century, human exhibitions became wildly popular throughout Europe and North America. Organizers transported people from Africa, Asia, the Pacific, and the Americas to international exhibitions, colonial fairs, and zoological parks. Entire villages were reconstructed. Visitors paid admission to observe daily life. Men, women, and children were instructed to wear traditional clothing, perform dances, build huts, cook food, and carry out ordinary activities while spectators watched. Some exhibitions attracted millions of visitors. Newspapers promoted them. Politicians attended them. School groups visited them. Many people viewed these displays as educational. Others viewed them as entertainment. Few questioned the morality of turning human beings into attractions. That may be the most disturbing part. To understand why human zoos existed, we must understand the world that created them. The late 19th century was the height of European colonial expansion. Britain, France, Belgium, Germany, the Netherlands. Powerful nations controlled vast territories across Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. Colonial empires required more than soldiers and ships. They required justification. Governments needed ordinary citizens to believe that empire was not exploitation. It was progress, not domination, but civilization. Human zoos helped tell that story. Visitors were shown carefully staged displays of colonized people, presented as primitive, exotic, or less developed. The message was subtle but powerful. Look at them, look at us, see the difference. Colonialism did not merely conquer territory, it created narratives, and human zoos became one of the most effective ways to sell those narratives to the public. But politics was only part of the story. Human zoos were also a business. Organizers understood something about human psychology. People pay to see what they perceive as unusual. Difference became a commodity. The more exotic the exhibit appeared, the greater the public fascination. Entire industries emerged around selling human curiosity. Advertisements promised encounters with strange peoples from distant lands. Travel, exploration, science, and entertainment became intertwined. The audience rarely saw exploitation. They saw spectacle, and spectacle generates profit. Perhaps no story captures the cruelty of the era more clearly than that of Ota Benga. Ota Benga was a Congolese Mbuti man whose life was forever altered by colonial violence. In 1906, he was displayed at the Bronx Zoo in New York. At one point, he was exhibited near the primate enclosure. Newspapers described him as a missing link between apes and modern humans. Thousands came to see him. Some laughed, some stared. Others treated the display as scientific evidence. But Ota Benga was not a scientific specimen. He was a human being. After years of displacement, humiliation, and isolation, he struggled to build a new life. In 1916, unable to return to his homeland and carrying immense emotional pain, he ended his own life. His story remains one of the most haunting reminders of what happens when people are reduced to symbols. At this point, a deeper question emerges. Why were human zoos so effective? Why did millions accept them? Part of the answer lies deep within human psychology. For most of human history, people lived in small communities. Survival often depended on distinguishing between friend and stranger, us and them, familiar and unfamiliar. This tendency helped human groups survive, but under the wrong conditions, it can become something darker. When powerful institutions define another group as fundamentally different, ordinary people can begin seeing them as less human, not necessarily through hatred, sometimes simply through distance, curiosity, indifference. The human zoo transformed an ancient tribal instinct into a political tool. This process is known as othering. A group is portrayed as different, then less civilized, then less capable, then less deserving of equal treatment. Once that process is complete, exploitation becomes easier to justify. Land can be taken, resources extracted, rights denied. The victims become characters in a story rather than people with lives, families, and dreams. Human zoos did not create colonialism, they normalized it. They transformed ideology into something visible, something ordinary citizens could consume with their own eyes. After World War II, the world began changing. The horrors of racial ideology became impossible to ignore. Anti-colonial movements gained momentum. Ideas about human rights expanded. Human zoos gradually disappeared. Many closed quietly. Some rebranded themselves. Others simply faded from public memory. Yet, the disappearance of the exhibits did not erase the mindset that created them. It is tempting to view human zoos as a relic of a less enlightened age, a bizarre mistake safely confined to the past. But history becomes most valuable when it forces us to examine ourselves. Humans still consume other humans as spectacle. Reality television, poverty, tourism, public humiliation online, viral outrage, social media algorithms that reward conflict and ridicule. The forms have changed, the technology has changed, but the appetite for spectacle remains. The desire to turn other people's lives into entertainment never fully disappeared. At its heart, the human zoo was never really about the people inside the enclosure. It was about the people standing outside it. Their fears, their curiosity, their insecurities, their need to divide the world into us and them. Colonialism provided the stage, science provided the language, business provided the profit, and ordinary people provided the audience. Sometimes the strangest roots are not hidden in distant cultures or forgotten rituals. Sometimes they are buried deep within ourselves. And that is the strange root of the human zoo era. If this journey into one of history's darkest spectacles made you think differently about power, identity, and the way we view others, subscribe to The Strange Root and join us as we continue exploring humanity's hidden stories. Until next time, take care and stay curious.